Batman issue 118. This is Joshua Williamson writing with Jorge Molina on the art, and this is
and Mikhail Yanin.
It's not on the cover, but I'll tell you what.
I know it's not on the cover, but it's in the credits page.
So interesting thing about this is that it's the same page count as normal, but there's no backup. It's actually just at least for this first issue, they've decided to give it the full page count for the main
Flash
story.
is doing this as well, right?
Flash has been doing it, yeah.
Yeah, that's the other one that springs to mind has been oversized.
And Green Lantern's kind of doing it, although it's always split in two between two stories.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't really counting that, because it's not that one's. I think they're equal sized stories, right? So it's not like one's a backup.
I wish they weren't equal size. Okay, that much.
Spoilers.
So, but no, I don't know if this is going to be a consistent thing, or if it's just for this first part, just to, so there was enough room to like do everything he wanted to do in his first issue. It's very possible. I think the first thing I'll say about this, before we talk about any of the stuff that it introduces or anything like that, is that this is a very smooth transition from the previous writer. This references so much of what's just happened that you definitely feel that Williamson is respecting the story that was just told and not just wanting to sweep it under the rug before he does his own thing.
There's always two kinds of runs in comics. Well, when they start a run, there's always the kind that just comes in, it's like, right, this is the new status quo, this is what we're doing, and, forget everything that came before. Or there's the kind that's very much, this is a direct continuation. And
this
if you didn't know it was a different writer, could just feel like more of the same.
And it does feel like a different writer, and I think because we're all used to
different vibe.
We're used to these different writers. We know what Williamson's like. We know what Tynan's like, but it does reference like so many things that were just happening. It references what's going on now with Arkham Tower. It references everyone's partying in the city because they've all survived this fear state. Like, that's why they're all happy. Yeah. So it falls straight on.
It feels like a Gotham flagship book, right? Like he's referencing all the stuff that's been going on in Gotham, because there's even stuff in there that references tech, right, with the vial stuff. And
I think it's interesting to me that we take so much time in Gotham to kind of set up. This is where Gotham is right now. By the end, it's like we're kind of moving out of Gotham.
Now I have to leave Gotham.
I think that makes sense given that Detective is. Matt just called this the flagship Gotham book. I think for the next couple of months, Detective's going to be the flagship Gotham book.
Well, I said it was. I said it felt like this felt like this is the Batman, stuff that's been going on. This, so it almost sets it in a era, if you will. Like this is right when it's going on, and I like that.
It uses it's not just like plot points that it references. It also just uses things that the previous run was using too. The fact that he's still calling Oracle, and using that as a part of the plot device that he's going to be using going forward.
And this is the argument I use for continuity. And I know sometimes continuity gets a little bit hectic, and you shouldn't have to read 14 books to understand what's going on in one. But the fact here that there is a continuity across the Bat books, and Williamson plays into that. He doesn't just decide he's going to do his own thing. I appreciate that.
This is very much an issue that is aware that it's the start of a run, and that there's a lot of exposition essentially for people like us who've been reading everything. We're like, this is all nice. This is what's just happened. But to anyone who's jumping on to Batman books right now and hasn't been reading any of them for the last 6 months, a year, whatever, this is essential information as to setting the scene of where things are right now.
It's little things though, like someone jokes, "Oh, I thought I saw Nakano crack a smile," and it's like that little line right there is for us. It's for the people who've been reading this and get why that's a funny line, because Nakano has been this really determined mayor.
I actually think it works for both, because I think that's really important for people who haven't been reading the books as well. That goes, okay, Mayor Nakano, so it's giving you that name, and it goes, even saw them smile, which tells you, okay, they don't usually. So it's immediately telling you what sort of person they are if you have no knowledge at all.
It does do that, but I'm not expecting Nakano to feature in this book that much, if at all, for the foreseeable future. I think that's mainly there is just, again, another kind of like passing the torch kind of like moment of like, we're acknowledging what the status quo in Gotham is, and it's still going to be going on during Detective, and it's still kind of adhering to like the rest of the Bat family books right now, and everything they've set up and everything they're still doing, which is really nice, because I think there was a concern when they announced this, and it was like, oh, Williamson's coming in, he's doing a new villain, and he's going to do something with Batman, that it was going to be like, oh, he's completely like absconding from the rest of the Bat books and just doing his own little thing in the corner somewhere.
But I like too though that it feels like new, like it feels fresh while referencing what we've gone through.
Do you know what it is as well? I think, and this could sound like a negative, but I don't mean it that way. It's an advert to go and read Detective. Like if you like all this Gotham stuff that you're seeing, you're picking this up, it's a new run, and you're hearing all this stuff, and you like this setting. It's kind of an advert to, hey, go check out Detective if you want more of this stuff.
I believe that's called synergy, right? Like
it is, yeah.
Yeah, that's a very Disney concept, and I mean that in the, hey, you liked the theme park ride? Here's a movie, or here's a TV show, or
and I think what's notable though is that this first half where he's in Gotham and all this New Year's style partying is going on. It does actually serve a purpose in the story as well, in the sense that there's a lot of jokes here from Oracle and other characters that, oh, maybe you should just take the night off and enjoy the fact that everyone's in a good mood and everyone's happy and things are in a good place. That's kind of intentional, because then when it hits you with this kind of the story is going to have to go and investigate later on, which is very it's got like a dark vibe to it. It's like someone's
grim.
There's a murder and like maybe someone Team Batman Inc. is basically all just admitted they've done it, but obviously he suspects there's more to it than that. But you've got all this setup, and I think the contrast of tone, and even the fact that the first half of this book is so colourful, and I love that about the art, is that it's so colourful with all the fireworks going off and all the city lights and the neon lights and all that stuff. And then when you get to the stuff where he's going to investigate the crime scene in Europe or whatever it is like, oh no, now it's just all these natural daylights and like shadows and darkness, and it's just like all of the colours.
Not Gotham.
Yeah, the colours just all gone. We're in a different world, and I think that's really interesting to do that with it. So that's really cool. Yeah, so like I said, the first half of the book, there's a couple of criminals that are going to break in somewhere, and Batman shows up, and I actually really like the build up to this, where one's like convinced he sees Batman, and the other one's like, nah, it's just a gargoyle, it's just Gotham, like it's nothing. And it builds up to this.
I do love what he says too. He's like, the gargoyles in Gotham, that's how it got its name. Just calm down.
Yeah, but it builds up to this full page spread of Batman with the fireworks behind him, and it's like it is an abnormally colorful Batman standing on a rooftop page.
Yeah, it works really well though.
Yeah, no, it does. It's really nice, and there's some good humor here, because the two crooks, when they realize Batman's actually there, just run to the nearest cops and beg to be arrested.
Arrest me. All right, if you insist.
Yeah, sure, Batman.
We're gonna rob the pawn shop.
Yeah, so just really stuff. It does reference some of the characters that Ghostmaker and Clown Hunter are off doing training and stuff. But and we even get like a reason why like we're going to get them to draw like all of the Bat Rogues gallery without having a convoluted plot of why they're all actually there. It's no. There's a costume party, so we get a bunch of Jokers and Riddlers and Two-Faces and whatever.
And Freezes and Ivies and Fireflies.
Yeah. Although the Firefly's real though, right? Like that was actual Firefly.
Well, that one was. Yeah. I mean, there might be more in there as well.
True.
There's a few Catwomans and Scarecrows.
I did love that, because it does seem like a shitty billionaire club thing to do. It's like, hey, the thing that people in this city are terrified of and have caused them untold amounts of damage. Let's all dress up like them.
Do you know what it felt like? Maybe it was too early, but it felt like a very specific reaction to me to Chrissy Teigen doing the Squid Game pie.
Of like
completely missing the point of what that show was, with all the rich people having the party and doing that. Like it kind of felt like almost like a reference to that.
Firefly is real though, so he's at the party. He's got some cronies. He's got a guy who's helping him who's dressed as Mr. Freeze, but it's clearly not actually Mr. Freeze. He's some dude with a beard. He's a bit chubbier as well, but looks it.
Yeah, he's really squeezing that suit. Say that from a guy who I'm not the smallest guy in the world, so.
Yeah, so we have Batman jumps in with some sort of Killer Croc suit on.
So for a hot second, Pete, I got worked thinking that Killer Croc's at this party decides to help, and I was like, "Oh, good, we're getting a Killer Croc." And
I think it's feasible given what just happened with Catwoman. It wasn't like a massive stretch.
They're kind of they could have been playing with it.
So I went to Twitter and I was like, "Oh, I like that they're adding Killer Croc to the Clayface, Poison Ivy, former rogues, anti-hero," and then it's just Batman. I was like, "Of course, dummy."
2 pages later,
everyone on Twitter thought you were such a fool.
Yep.
So I really like that panel actually where he punches the. I mean, it's not actually the Riddler, but like he punches the Riddler that's there
the guy.
in the face.
And I like how he goes, "Those aren't Croc's moves. Who are you really?"
Yeah.
And then it's just the reveal, the suit just, melts away.
Yeah, it gets burned off by Firefly.
Yeah. Cool.
And I love the idea that this Joker, who's not obviously again not the real Joker, but he tries to like use like two knives. He dual wields some knives and tries to like stab Batman, which is like I'm not saying Joker would never do it because I can see him doing it with like a certain sense of humor, but this feels like some asshole who thinks he's got some skills with some knives. And
to be fair, it's just not that bad.
It's just Jared Leto.
He would be at some rich asshole's party. In fact, he's probably throwing the party where everyone's dressed as villains.
His party, yeah.
Yeah, and him and Joaquin Phoenix are just like staring at each other across the room all night, like just staring daggers at each other.
Yeah, you think Joaquin Phoenix is going to one of those?
To piss off Jared Leto.
Yeah.
So ultimately, there's a real freeze gun though, because they mentioned one of the pages that they stole Freeze's gun. Batman grabs it though and freezes the Firefly gun, and voila! Would you look at that? Every day is saved, and all the rich assholes don't even realize that this is real. They just think this is some like a show that the host has put on for them. And fake Catwoman even tries to get flirty with them. And then a little girl dressed as Punchline asks for his autograph, and I love that he is not thrilled about this, but he does actually draw a bat symbol on the paper.
He smoke bombs out and just leaves it.
It's just so delighted.
This is also in this is how messed up this party is too. Punchline, isn't she on trial for stuff?
Well, I mean, this is a party dressing as villains.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but to have your daughter dress up as Punchline is a whole level of ick. Right?
Hey, have you seen the photos of like families holding machine guns next to the Christmas tree on Twitter?
Oh, for the Christmas card
pictures. Yeah. This is so believable to me. After that,
no. I'm not saying it's not believable. I'm saying it adds a whole level of ick.
Oh sure, yeah. So yeah, basically, there's a sweet little moment here where Barbara asks, what do you usually do after like a successful case? And there's a page just showing like various examples, like him with Gordon next to the bat symbol, him with presumably young Dick. Maybe
that's Damien.
That's Damien with the dog there.
So it's a very tight panel. I didn't,
No, it is. I'm just going off of the cape that looks like a hood.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I was going by the dog, but yeah, that works too.
It was just like I just saw Robin and didn't think about it when I first read it, and it's just because I'm looking at the collar now. I'm like, yeah, it looks like Damien.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then it's like with Catwoman, then there's one with Superman, and then it's him playing chess with Alfred.
And then you look at this page and realize that all these people are gone right now.
Yeah.
Gordon's doing stuff in the Joker book. Damien's got his own. Catwoman's off. Superman's on Warworld, and Alfred's dead. And it takes a lot for me to feel bad for Bruce. This page feel really bad for Bruce. Like I was like, oh, he's for sure lonely, even though he still has like his other kids, right? These are all his coping that he just doesn't have now, And I was like, God damn,
it's not like they live at home anymore.
No, but like, I like that he's talking to Barbara, and Barbara's like, oh well, Dick's gonna bring over bagels and coffee. Come on over. But it's not that. It's it's what Bruce is used to that is just not there, and the fact that he's lonely, and something about that really resonated, and I was like, oh, I feel bad for the poor guy.
I actually really like that moment with Babs where Dick's like, hey, tell him to come over. It's literally the parents looking after the kids looking after the older parent who's on the road now. And
there's a couple of details here. Like one, I like that Dick's already got a third cup. Right, nice touch. And also the idea that he is maybe about to say yes, and he's going to like make this, part of the new victory tradition. Yeah. But then it's right at this moment where the light of the blimp with the bulletin hits him, and he's like, "I'm going dark for 48 hours." And it's almost like a really funny beat because it's like the opposite of what Oracle's asking. Like, don't go dark, come and be a part of the family. And he's like, "I'm going dark for 48 hours."
Is anything more Gotham to your reign than blimps giving out the news?
Oh, it's just super.
Gotham.
That's proper Gotham.
Love it.
The fact that they're carrying big screens for billboards and ads and news bulletins is amazing. So yeah, it says Batman Inc. arrested, and says murder, and obviously that sets us into the second part of the book, which is in Badnisia.
Yeah.
Badnisia.
Yeah.
So it's some sort of.
This is a fake place, right? This is a made-up place, right?
Yeah, this is made up. Yeah. We've been there before in Williams Books. This is where the Flash went when looking for the.
Oh yeah, it sounds familiar.
Speed
but
Forces. I think Taylor went there with the Suicide Squad. So it's if I remember right, it's like their Madripoor. It's kind of like a place where, you know, you can get away with things that you normally wouldn't be. So, but yeah.
No, I mean not that the places being made up is unique for DC because DC most of DC's regular cities are made up. So
just trying to place it geographically. I know Peter mentioned maybe Europe, but like it's definitely got some Asian influence given the police
South
tape.
Asia.
Is it South Asia?
South Asia.
Okay.
See, I was going to say maybe it was like Eurasian, maybe like the architecture looks very like Turkish almost.
It could be.
To be fair, I said Europe when I wasn't looking at the page. Now that I'm looking at the page where he's actually there, I would have said Asia too.
Yeah. But I to me it's always somewhere like around like Thailand, like that kind of area. I mean, it could be Connor, like you're saying, you're Asian on that side of the continent. But you know,
we need a DC Atlas.
Yeah, I can look up. I'm sure there's one.
No, not now. That's fine.
I'm gonna look.
So yeah, we're interested in your character here. Well, as far as I know, it's a new character anyway. Kea, who is a detective in Badnesia, and she doesn't believe, like, she thinks there's more to the case than just because it sounds kind of fishy, like all these Batman Inc. characters just walked in and confessed to this murder after they did it, and she goes in and she thinks she's found some evidence, and it's like, why has no one looked at this? And of course, Batman, a real Batman appears. He's changed the outfit as well. He's got his oval on now as well. He didn't earlier in this issue. So
I didn't know. This is the
Batman Inc. suit.
The Batman Inc. suit, yeah. And I wonder if that was an intentional statement from, like, obviously from the creative team. It's telling us, no, we're in Batman Inc. mode. But from Batman himself, like from Bruce, was it more of a solidarity with them, maybe?
Yeah. So Bruce examines the crime scene and she says, "Okay, so Batman Inc. Like they killed Abyss, right? This new character.
Yeah. So he's been terrorizing Badnesia, kidnapped at least 20 people." So they came to save the day, and it went. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you look at, like, you know, when he's looking at the bullet holes and he's sort of visualizing what's happened, he's seeing like a shooter from up above that doesn't really track with like any of the Batman characters. So you know, so he's literally pointing out plot holes like in this like confession that's been given. There's more to the story.
He points out, goes, but they did do it somehow.
Yeah. So. Well, at least they're saying that. Maybe there's a reason why they're.
Well, I don't know, that's Batman's conclusion, isn't it? Is because, you know, the detective's like, oh, so they're being framed, and Bruce like, no, that's the problem. They did do it.
So there's more there, though. I'm sure. Like,
yeah, he's obviously jumping to right. Okay, mind control, things like that. I'm assuming has, you know, why did they all suddenly, you know, become like this? You know, what affected them in this way?
Yeah. So. Yeah, it sets up this mystery. Sets up like, okay, we've got this going on. The big thing at the end of the issue, though, is that she brings up, oh yeah, there's a guy in like Gotham who was funding like Batman Inc., right? And he's like, yeah, Bruce Wayne, but he's no longer. And that's a good point. He doesn't have the money to fund Batman Inc. anymore. We know this. And in walks, you know, someone else.
The new sponsor.
Yes, the benefactor who's sponsoring the whole thing. And we see like the feet, we see the suit, we can tell it's someone rich. I didn't actually notice the L on the jacket the first time I read it.
Did you not?
No. I still guessed who it was, though, because it was like, well,
who else would wear the white suit?
Yeah, there's only a few people it could really be. So it was not a surprise when I turned the page and saw that bald head, and then the final dialogue is just the close-up of Batman's eyes of Luthor.
I love Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor interactions. Yeah, once I saw the purple and then I saw the L, I was like, oh, okay, of course. Because I mean, who else do we have that has that much money that's left in DC? It's Luthor and Ollie Queen, and Ollie's funding the Justice League. So, you know,
probably Dick Grayson.
Yeah, Dick. I mean, but he's not doing the Club of Heroes stuff, right? Like,
he could have done.
But real quick about Badnesia, it goes all the way back to 1940 from Flash Comics 1.
Whoa.
and also has ties to Johnny Thunder and the Thunderbolt.
Do we have a rough location?
It is. It's an island in the South China Sea, in the vicinity of Indonesia. So, yeah.
Cool.
But I like. So it's one of those places too that has, deep history with DC. So it's not just like he could have created any other place, right? Like he could have made up his own country, but Williamson opted to go with this one that exists already, which is real cool. But yeah, the Luthor twist I loved.
Yeah, there's only so many times you can add new places. Like I feel like if there's some good places you can use,
yeah,
might as well.
Yeah, mm-hmm. So no reason why not. So I like the issue quite a bit. Like I mean, obviously we went through it. I think I like how much it addresses and acknowledges the past run. I like how much it still seems to be, accepting what's going on in the other Bat books. I think the art is very good. I love the coloring in the first half. I think the art is still very solid in the second half as well, though. Like him appearing in the shadows, the crime scene stuff. The new character from the brief interaction we get with her seems likable. Like, she's like wants to investigate this when everyone else is like just wipe their hands off it because confession, nothing to see here. But she's like, she smells a mystery, and that makes her just instantly a little bit likable, I think. And then the ending with Luthor is just like interesting. It's like, okay, so he's got his mitts on Batman Inc., and how exactly is he influencing it? And is it as simple as him corrupting him enough to kill someone? I don't know. That feels a bit straightforward, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where this is exactly going to go with the whole Abyss thing. I know it's a new character, and whatever, but I like that. I like that now we're in for the ride. So,
yeah. I would say this feels a bit more light, I guess, than the last run, but it's hard to say that after one issue.
That started off pretty light as well.
But like at least from this issue, it feels like, oh no, we're going to be having like a nice sort of pulpy time, like with all these various things going on.
We're doing Globetrotting Bruce again, which we haven't had in a while, so I'm excited for it to be that. There's something different at this point.
I mean, we just had Batman Detective. I mean, that was Globetrotting.
No, that was barely. It was still focused in mostly one location. It was mostly just two, London and Paris.
Yeah,
but even that was just okay. It was just this mini. It was out of continuity. This is continuity Globetrotting Bruce.
I mean, I don't really care about Globetrotting Bruce, to be honest, but like that's not a problem for me having it there in this case, like because I enjoyed this issue well enough. I kind of also appreciate that the Batman Inc. inclusion isn't just like he's running Batman Inc. and we're doing Batman Inc. stuff.
Right.
They're factored into the plot as like parts of the story, but it's not about them being Batman Inc.
Also, it will be after this arc, though, I'm sure.
I hope not.
Well, I also love that Luthor's keeping the name Batman Inc. He didn't rename it. Yeah, he didn't rename it to anything. But yeah. And I also like that we got the quick history. They were the Club of Heroes, and now and they've added Batman of China in there, which I do like because I miss those characters a whole lot. And then they added someone called the Hood, who looks very much like Spawn. So I had to look them up. And
he's familiar. I'm sure I've seen him in something.
Yeah. So basically, he's just I think like a British spy Batman.
So where he was in, where he's from.
I have to relook him up.
Never mind.
Yeah, but I know he started in the 80s, but because there's a lot of similarities to Azrael in him, because he's based off of Robin Hood, which is where he gets his name from.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
No, but it looks cool. I've definitely read him in something before because it didn't stick out to me. But yeah, no, I like Batman Inc. I'm looking forward to after this arc where we get more Batman Inc. Rather than just them as the plot. Because I like these characters, and I like Club of Heroes stuff is always fun for me.
I like this issue, but I hope it doesn't go that route. So,
I mean, we've been in Gotham like. As long as we have, Batman doing stuff in Detective Comics in Gotham, I always like to see the two books be so different.
I'm down for the two books being different. I don't even need Batman to be in Gotham. I just don't like Batman Inc. as a concept. So I hope it doesn't become the focus of the book after this arc is done. But But that's just a personal preference. I like this issue quite a bit though. Like I enjoyed reading it. Art's good. Like I thought I hit a lot of high notes and it felt very pleasant. Felt very pleasant to read.
Every time I say I'm gonna stop getting Batman physically, something like this happens.
I'll let you were ever gonna stop when Williamson took over.
Yeah, exactly. And that was my whole thing. It's like, oh, I'll stop, when we get to 100. Okay, well all the stuff is pretty good. I'll keep collecting it. And now we're on 118 and okay, I'll stop when Tynan's done. Oh wait, Williamson's taking it. I have to keep getting it. So,
Yeah, and then
stop being good.
And then when it switches to Tom Taylor, you just have no choice. And Matt's going to have like up to issue 200 at least by the time he stops buying this physically.
I have a lot of Batman going back to when I started getting comics.
Hey, if Williamson has remotely the length of run that he did on Flash, he might have 200 just for Williamson.
Yeah. That is very true.
Hopefully it keeps better consistency.
Please.
I would also hope that. Yeah, I would also hope that.
The only upside to the fact that if it is that long and it loses consistency, which I don't want, I'm not hoping for that obviously, is at least there's other Bat books, unlike Flash, where it's kind of just you've got Flash and that's it. Whereas if this book got bad, which again, I have no reason to expect that right now, but if it did, I'm gonna have other Bat books that I'm enjoying somewhere. Like that's a guarantee. The one thing I can guarantee be relied on in DC is there will be a Bat book I will enjoy at all times.
Yeah, pretty much. Solid first outing. Looking forward to 119. Matt, what are you giving this issue?
I'm giving this an 8.5.
Connor?
I'm gonna go with a straight 8. I think it's really great at what it's doing, but it's a first issue.
Yeah, I'll agree with the 8.5. I think I really dug this. It does feel different enough, but it did take time to kind of like, respect everything that just happened and not feel like it's just a sudden shift. At the very least, even if we are shifting suddenly now that we're in the case and he's moved to a different location, at least it took time to explain the shift. So it was like, hey, here's a bit of extra epilogue to the events that just happened. Gotham's recovering from it. And maybe it helps that, the story might take place out of Gotham, so it's not Gotham in jeopardy. I mean, admittedly, detectives about to do that, so, I mean, Gotham doesn't get arrested.
Gotham's always in jeopardy.
Yeah, Gotham doesn't get arrested. That's just the truth.